I'm Julianne Puente, head of school at Albuquerque Academy in New Mexico. The Academy is a leader in the world of independent schools. We honor our past while embracing the future of education. Even though I've been going to school in one shape or form for almost my entire life, I still learn something new every day. And I use that knowledge to tackle the challenges that should interest anyone who has a stake in the future we can't fully imagine. Thanks for joining me to hear about what I learned in school. If you know us, Christine and I are always talking. Our offices happen to be side by side, and anytime we're not specifically talking about something else, Christine and I are talking about teaching. In particular, what makes good teaching. So for the one person who might actually be listening to this, we thought it would be fun to allow you to listen in and to see what those conversations are like. Christine, we spend a lot of time observing classes, hiring teachers, talking about teaching and learning. What are some thoughts as a dean of faculty, as a classroom teacher, as a longtime educator that you have about what makes an effective class?
So I feel really lucky that I have the opportunity to get in and out of a lot of classes during the school day. I think I'm in a class or two each day. And the very first thing that becomes very apparent to me that is highly important for an effective teaching environment is just that the teacher has created a space where the students feel very supported, welcomed, that they feel that they can take academic risks. Because it is hard learning. When you take risks, you don't feel comfortable, and that is part of the journey. And so I think that a lot of teachers have such an amazing way of creating space for students to try something that's uncomfortable. Just because it is uncomfortable doesn't mean it should be avoided. Students need to lean into those uncomfortable moments. And what is so hard about learning is that you don't know, most of what the teacher's talking about, and that's why you're there, is to tackle and embrace and be challenged by the new content. I have in recent years been a student, and I do feel that has helped me as a teacher. I think it's easy to forget sometimes when you haven't been on the student side how hard that is when someone asks you a question that you don't know the answer to. But I think that it's important that teachers are creating such great spaces on campus that do allow students the ability and the desire to take those risks. And I do think that is the first component to really having an effective classroom for learning.
The other thing I have found that makes an effective class are when the learning objectives or what you're doing in that class are clear to kids, that when they understand the purpose of what they're doing, they will generally do what you ask them to do. So how do you approach your intentionality about what you do each day? How do you actually go about planning your classes?
I think that it's important to have various spaces in the classroom for students to explore content that they're learning in a variety of ways. So I do believe a lot in movement, discussion, analytical thinking, exploration. So I actually try to answer your question, plan my class using, obviously expressing new content, but then giving them space to actually really discover it for themselves and make connections to their prior knowledge or to real world examples and things of that sort. So yesterday when I went into a classroom, it was a ninth grade teacher, and they were having students rewrite kind of modern day part of A Summer Night's Dream. And it was so sweet. I walked in and the students were kind of in little groups, some on the ground and little groups on the floor, some at tables. And the teacher, at first I couldn't find the teacher because she was sitting on the ground in a group of students chatting about language and including irony into the dialogue that they were building. And she walked around the class and connected with every single student during the time that I was there. There was a lot of giggling because students were exploring language. And so it was just really lovely to walk into an environment where you could tell the time on task was so high because they were so interested in how do you make something that's written one way, incorporate irony and use different vocabulary to make it more modern day. And so it was just really fun to see the teacher engage with the activity at the same level that the students were.
I saw a French 1 class in which they were assigned the different districts of Paris, but they had been given the vocabulary to explore these districts. And then they made this map as a class with all of the different things you can do in the district. So they learned about Paris, they learned some geography, they had vocabulary, and were exploring a different culture all at exactly the same time. The way the teacher had, created the assignment, they were working in trios. So every student, we talk about time on task, they were engaged, and she could go around and see it. I've loved our math classes, have been phenomenal. I haven't taken calculus in a long time, but watching that and how our teachers, we were just talking about this, how they are such, they have such depth of understanding that they understand the students' mistakes straight away. And instead of just fixing them, ask them the questions to allow the students to correct their own mistakes, and that's where the real learning happens. But they know right away, like in a 10-step problem that the student made a mistake in basically like step 4, and why they made that mistake, and help the student identify it, and then that learning becomes their own. I love some of the strategies the teachers were using too. Like, kids will put their hands up, right? Teacher ask a question, the same 2-3 kids will answer hand, right? And the teacher will say, I need to see 7 hands. Give me 7 hands. And can I get to 10? And, 10 hands will eventually go up, and then she'll call one of the 10. And, it gave enough wait time for kids to kind of process the question and think about it. And all of the strategies that were going in there. We collect student feedback twice a year. Right. And across the board, I think what resonated with me most closely, I'd be anxious to hear from you. I mean, what our kids tell us about our teachers is that they love them. Right. Across the board, every division, all the different disciplines. But, it was almost a perfect score for passion. That the way, is my teacher passionate about what they are teaching, and the kids just see us as very committed and enthusiastic about our content area. Was there anything about that feedback that struck you?
Something that we kind of already talked about a little bit, but just to reemphasize, just the making the environment so welcoming, and that the teachers truly and authentically care about the kids, that they feel that they care about them, and that they know. A lot of students made comments about they know that their teacher wants them to do well and wants them to succeed and cares about their learning.
Yeah. It was absolutely, across the board. It's now time for the teacher feature, when you get to meet one of our fantastic faculty members at the Academy. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Kedge. We were just talking. You said that you came here to the Academy at first in 1995, just after Christine had graduated. So you missed the opportunity to teach this gem. But you came then, and then you were coaching, and then returned as a full-time faculty member. Do you remember what the Academy was like in the 90s, or when you first came here?
Yeah, so before I came here, I was a public school teacher in Albuquerque Public Schools for a number of years, 6 or 8 years, and had fond memories of Albuquerque Academy. As a matter of fact, my old yearbook picture from high school has a picture of me running cross-country at the Academy.
Where'd you go?
I went to Espanola Valley High School. I was a 1983 graduate of Espanola Valley. And somehow, looking back now, there's a picture of me running across the mesa in the early 80s.
We have to get that picture, for sure.
I had hair back then.
How did you develop a passion for running?
I developed a passion for running at an early age. When I was in elementary, my older brother started running. I followed him around, and in middle school, junior high, high school, through college, I just enjoyed running. It was something that I was fairly successful at. It was kind of our family business now, looking back at it. All my siblings ran, and just got involved in running. And that probably drove me to getting involved in education and wanting to become a science teacher and a coach.
So you've taught physics, but what other sciences have you taught?
So, Julianne, I like to tell people that I've worked with kids from the age of 4.5 all the way up to 19. Part of my job here at Albuquerque Academy is for 20 years I ran the summer day camp, working with the younger kids in the day camp and then working with the middle-aged kids, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders in the day camp. As far as teaching, both public schools here and here at Albuquerque Academy, I've taught grades 7 through 12, so kids in those grades in the sciences, earth science, physics, chemistry, physical science. So those are the main classes that I've taught.
And what made you interested in science? I mean, I think that you have a breadth of knowledge that you could have taught really any discipline. What was about science that really attracted you?
Somehow I always had a passion for science. And so when I got involved in education, I know I wanted to do something science related. Before I got involved in education, I was debating whether to get, I had an interest in meteorology, in geology, hydrology, and thought, should I go the route of becoming a scientist or an educator? And so I applied much of that coursework into my educational degree.
It's been so fun to be in and out of your classroom. I've had the opportunity to observe you and watch you interact with the students, which is always so great. What is it about teaching that you feel like is just the spark for you? What is the most exciting thing about teaching?
Exactly as you mentioned. I love that spark when a young mind kind of just realizes that they understand a concept, that learning can be fun, that it's not my job to make it a difficult trial to get them where they need to be as far as learning. And then just the interaction between us as adults and, mentors and the kids, and just, visiting with them every day and watching them light up and learn, but also have fun along the way as they're doing it.
When I've been in your class, you do such a variety of activities with the students. There's a lot of fun transitions. One time I even saw you were like putting a light in a Mother's Day card or something like that. There was something that you were doing some lab. It's been clear that you build very strong relationships with your students. It's obvious when you're in the classroom. So what do you think are some key key components to building those relationships? Why is it that you feel like students are so drawn to you? They're drawn to you in both cross country and track as well as in the classroom.
It comes to trust, first of all. I mean, the personal relationships that we have with everybody is built upon trust. And so they know that I'm there for them, that I'm there to help them to learn, but I'm also there to support them in other aspects of their life. And once you build that trust between a student and any adult, for that matter, once you build that trust, then they're open and free to make mistakes, to grow over time, and to learn.
So now that you've been here for a series of years at our school, are there any moments that really stick out to you of just kind of a joyful, special moment during your time here?
I think, if I was to pinpoint one or two moments, that would do a disservice to the things that happen every day in the classroom and out on the fields. And so I just enjoy those little moments. We could talk about, big successes that we've had or changes that we've had here at school or accomplishments of my athletic teams, but I enjoy the practices. I enjoy the lab activities in the classroom. I enjoy just, seeing kids in the hallway. All of those are the special moments for me. The reason that I would keep doing it for a long period of time would be to, share more of those moments.
Kedge, you've had a long career and a long career at the academy. What are some ways that it's been the same, and what are some things that have changed?
I don't think the kids have changed. As adults and teachers often say, oh, kids today are different. I don't believe that to be true, or not much, much truth to it. I think that the kids are still willing to work hard, willing to get better, willing to learn. And I'm talking about both in the classroom, in my science classroom, and out on the track and on the cross-country fields. we have some incredible kids that I get to work with. Some that I kind of feel like I'm calling my own since I've invested so much time with them, and they've invested in us as a team and as a group and as a class. And so I don't think there's a lot of changes. Sure, there's changes like structurally from a school when we have one new head of school to the next, or philosophically. But those changes, as much as they seem big and broad, the foundational principles that happen in the classroom and out on the fields are still the same.
Yeah. So let's talk about coaching a little bit, right? So what, how do you think teaching and coaching are similar? In certain ways, how you prepare for your class and how you prepare for practice can be similar, but in other ways, they're quite different. What do you have a different approach for both, or talk a little bit about how you go into a season or go into approach a course?
I don't think they're similar. I think they're identical in many ways. A great coach is a great teacher. A great teacher coaches his or her kids in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so those two aspects, to me, it's one and the same. Sure, I'm outside at 3:30 in the afternoon or in my classroom at 8:15 in the morning, but I don't put a different hat on. I put a hat on to block me from the sun, but I don't put it, to me, I'm doing the same thing either way. And so it is pretty much identical. You still have to be, in order to be successful at anything, you have to be well-planned, you have to be disciplined, you have to be able to work with others, be able to communicate, to share your ideas, to listen. If you have all those characteristics, then teaching becomes a lot easier, coaching becomes a lot easier. But once again, I think I'm coaching my kids in the class and I'm teaching my kids out on the field.
How has the college landscape changed or impacted athletics, in your opinion?
Crazy, and it's blown up literally just in the past couple of years. And just thinking back to when I was at the university level as a training to be a teacher and as an athlete, and then to have my own, two of my three children be collegiate athletes, and how it changed, and for them to actually get into college coaching and how things changed, even their era when they were coaching at college till now. It's just kind of been night and day. It feels like professional sports is now college sports, or college is pro sports, and high school sports in a lot of ways, especially in things like football and basketball, is similar to what we used to know as college sports, as far as people, jumping schools and seeking out money and special privileges. The NIL thing has just kind of blown up the NCAA system, as well as, these changes of coaches and just everything driven by money and TV contracts. It hasn't affected the sports that I coach in nearly as much, cross country and track and field. But if you look at the landscape, especially in football and basketball, and now the emergence of women's sports becoming much, much more popular, not only available but much more popular, it's really kind of changed the whole college landscape. I won't say it's impure, but there's definitely some impurities to it. It's quite different. I remember, I was an athlete, 35, 40 years ago, and we were just hoping to, get on the bus and go to a track meet and get a free meal at Denny's or something like that, and that was the extent of it. Now you see these young men and women, and maybe rightfully so, I don't know, maybe they deserve it, but driving sports cars to practice every afternoon, it's almost absurd.
Yeah. I mean, and just in thinking about that, it's, as you just said, it's not impacting the entire college landscape, but for that sector, really football, basketball, it has absolutely, changed it. And even just talking about, what the SEC conference, or that these are the main conferences, and that, the rest of them, it just doesn't matter, or in terms of, competing at the national level on that.
The great thing about our school is that I don't think it nearly has the impact, because a lot of our kids seek out the quality education first.
Right.
and they're looking at the Division II, Division III, NAIA schools. The Ivy Leagues are not offering this NIL money, so they're looking at these universities where they're planning on their professional future outside of sports rather than just what is in it for them at the university level. We're not producing, a ton of Division I football and basketball players at this. That's not our goal at this school. And so the kids that do get the opportunity to participate in athletics at the collegiate level are finding, through guidance through our own school and our college guidance office, they're finding the right fits for them to become great young adults, great adults, parents at some point, family members, employees, and, professionals.
So I know that you are not about the hardware or the number of championships, but I'd be remiss, or we would be remiss in not acknowledging that our girls' team is ranked number 1 in the country, and our boys' team is ranked number 2 in the country. I always wish the academy had a little more swagger and a little more pride in this. They're more like, I teach a couple of kids. They're like, yeah, it's good. And then we just kind of move on into class. How does it make you feel? I mean, when you get an accolade like that, or the kids earned that?
The accolades are nice. But that's not where I'm at this point in my career. I remember years and years ago when I started at Albuquerque Academy, I wanted to prove that I could fit in here, that I could build a successful team, and we had the opportunity to do that. And then somehow I thought, okay, what does that mean for next year and next season? So I wanted to prove that we could do it again, and that we could, build this foundation of consistency and then legacy and those types of things. But anymore, that's not really my interest. The good thing is that our kids are incredibly humble. They understand the process, and they're ready to move on too. I talked to kids just today in the hallway and out in the science foyer that are just talking about how eager they are to get better at track and field for right. Next semester, or even their participation in basketball. We have plenty of multi-sport athletes at this school. So talking about their participation in swimming or wrestling or basketball and how they want to do well there and carry over some of the success that they had in cross country or track and field to those sports.
Yeah. We just did a big clean out at the academy just a couple weeks ago. And I went down into the gym, beneath the gym with Taryn, and I was shocked at the number of trophies that we just don't even have places for them here. So the academy is very much on to the next thing, and it seems that's just in the DNA here over the course of the years.
The dungeon of trophies, as I call it. I went in there a few years back and collected all the track and cross country coaches, and yeah. Proudly I will say it took me a couple trips to grab them, and they're up in my office right now. And with that being said, I know that we celebrate a lot of times being number 1 or winning the state championship. But there has been some incredible teams in so many ways, not just performance, incredible teams and incredible kids that I've been able to work for that didn't have the opportunity right. or didn't win the championship and got a second place trophy or a third place trophy that were, amazing teams. Probably our best boys cross-country team of all time, ranked number 1 in the nation for all size schools, public and private, in 2007, actually didn't win a 2007 state championship. They finished 3rd in the United States at the Nike Cross Nationals, and they got beat by the team that finished 2nd in the United States at Nike Cross Nationals. And right. So we were state runners-up. Just an amazing team that would literally, these young gentlemen would just steamroll another group of, skinny, handsome boys from another school. And that's exactly what they were, a group of skinny, handsome boys that would just run super duper hard.
Right. Do you have any other questions?
Sure. So you have had so many awesome accomplishments here as a teacher and as a coach, as we talked about today. What are some of the goals that you have moving forward in the next 6 months, next year? What goals are on your mind?
I still enjoy working with and for the families that we get to serve. And so just building those relationships, just not only with the kids, but with their families, and serving them well, I could make it the rest of my teaching, coaching career without another trophy and be, 100% satisfied, with one exception. I could make it for me. But I want to see some of those young kids, boys and girls, fulfill their individual dreams and goals. And so if that's their goal, their dream is to be on the top of the podium at the state track and field meet, or to share in a group of 7 boys or 7 girls that win the blue trophy at the state cross country meet, then I'll share that goal with them. And I'll be driven hard in order for us to accomplish that. So hard that if I have to make them do one extra rep or another set, then we'll do that together.
Right.
But for me, I don't need it. But if there's help fulfill their dreams, and so if they have a dream and they want to do it, and we can share that as a team goal or an individual goal, I want to be there to help them as much as I can.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Kedge, we have a little game we like to call the lightning round.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you.
Zap.
All right, I'm going to give you some pairs here, and maybe 2 questions, and we'll see where you're at. You ready?
I'm ready.
Red or green?
Red.
Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
Early bird or a night owl?
Oh, way early bird. Way early bird. Early to rise. I'm going to beat you by waking up before you and, getting to bed before you too. So.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Cross country or track?
Can't decide. Track, because now it's track season. Cross country's over. It's track season. So ask me in 6 months, and it'll be cross country.
Air Force or Navy?
Air Force.
Of
2
course,
graduates.
yeah.
My family, 2 sons graduated from U.S. Air Force Academy.
What's your favorite place to get breakfast burrito in Albuquerque?
At home. My wife is the best cook around. The best.
I love it. I love it. And what's your favorite spot on campus?
I like being alone out on the cross-country course when I get the time.
Nice.
Away from, no disrespect to anybody, but just in my own mind for a little bit of time.
Hey, you're talking to us. I appreciate that myself. Well, Kedge, we are so lucky, or I feel very lucky that our paths have crossed, and that I learn from you all of the time as an educator, as a coach. I've loved our conversations and a great deal of gratitude for what you've contributed to this community.
I thank you guys for your support. I'm indebted to the families of this place. I look forward to a number of years here in the future. Let's go and do our best, both in the classroom and out on the track coming up.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All right. It's the mailbag, Dr. Lenhart.
Awesome.
Dear Miss Puente and Dr. Lenhart, for the most part, the food in the dining halls is pretty decent. There are some things I like a lot and some things, to be honest, that I'm not so crazy about. But I get that not everybody likes the same things that I do. Does the Academy take lunch menu suggestions? And if so, who should I send them to? Oh, we never get this question.
We get this question frequently.
Yeah. So everyone is required to have lunch at the Academy. And there are a variety of reasons for that. One, there is an equity issue that we want all of our kids to eat here, and to make sure that they have access to really good, healthy food. There's a variety of options
There
every
certainly
day.
is, yeah.
I mean, and now we require advisory lunch, which is a throwback. To when
from
you were
when
here.
I was here.
Right. So in grades 6 through 12, we require advisory lunch at least once a week. And, we see this as part of our curriculum on this. I think the food here is great.
It's excellent. I actually greatly miss the food during the summer. There's so much more variety here than there ever is in my kitchen. That's for sure. I feel thankful for the food that we get every day and the people who make it, and they have, they're so great to us each day. But it's interesting. In my advisory group, I actually do not hear complaints about the food, that people recognize that there is such a variety. And some of the soups here are absolutely my favorite food.
I mean, we have several hot entrees. There's vegan, there's vegetarian, there's several soups, there's a salad bar, sandwich bar, pasta bar. I'm like, the few times that I've heard things, I'm like, I am not sure what else that you want. No one's saying it's your parents' cooking.
Right.
Though I find the food here excellent, and I have the same chefs that make lunch here every day. They do all the events for us that we have outside of the school day. I think Sage is great, and that what we're eating every day has a lot of variety in doing that.
Well, and also the feedback is absolutely listened to by Sage. So one day I saw a really long line, and I went to figure out what that was about. And the students were waiting for more curry chicken because they absolutely loved it. And Sage was, rapidly trying to get more out.
Right.
And since then, they've served it more frequently. So, they definitely listened to the feedback. And they said that the person who was making the food said that there's a way to kind of measure how much food to make for a certain population, and that our students were eating way more of the chicken than they were used to. So they've adjusted that, but it's very good. And I do think that they do listen to feedback.
Yeah. And they have a way of writing in for feedback that you can see right in our dining halls, and the chefs are out there listening. The lunch, the dining, the menus are done in 6-week increments. Sage is a national company. Their recipes are pretty specific because of all of the allergy concerns and what we can offer, not what we can, but what is safe to offer. So that even when the menus are set by our chefs, they go into I understand they go into either the regional or national offices. They're verified and then put back in, because I'm always like, let's just make this. Let's just do this. And it's not as simple as that. I mean, one of the things we're also looking at is having buying some more outdoor grills, smokers, other things that will, I find the weather in New Mexico just phenomenal, that we can eat outside more, and having that option. And of course, expanding our concessions and all of that now a lot of the hot foods will come from Sage for during basketball, football, swimming meets, or big track meets and what have you. So they're really a great partner in this. Christine, it's always great to talk to you. I can't wait to just walk up to the office together and continue our conversations that we have every day.
Me too.
And of course, a big thank you to Adam Kedge.
Absolutely.
Just a terrific colleague, fabulous coach, and an absolutely wonderful science teacher. We're lucky to have him. Thanks for listening to What I Learned in School to learn a little bit about Albuquerque Academy. Send us your comments and questions to headofschool@aa.edu. You can listen to all of our episodes on our website at aa.edu and wherever you get your podcasts.